Hi guys, welcome back to another video. The paper that we are reviewing today is the paper 43 from the recent May-June 2024. I've done the paper 2 of this variant. Okay, it was surprisingly easy, so I'm expecting this paper to consist some of the questions to pull up the standard of this set of paper. So before we get into the video, okay, let's roll in the sponsor. Haha! So there's actually no sponsor, but just a shameless plug here. This video here is sponsored by the Math Academy. Okay, so we offer, instead of saying we, it's I offer group tutoring, private tutoring on the subject math and math. So if you're interested, feel free to find more information from the Google link below. You can fill up the form and I'll reach out to you personally to advise which lessons suit your situation best. So without further ado, let's get back to the video. Okay, so for paper 43 today, one thing that you will notice is I changed up the apps already because the native iPad app been crashing lately because I've recorded a lot and I haven't have time to sit down and clear out my iPad. So yeah, I'm still getting used to this new software here. Hopefully everything will run smoothly in this paper review. Okay, so let's have a look at the first question. Okay, so in 2023, a football club has 50 adults member and 70 child member. The membership fee for an adult was 40 and the membership fee for the child was 15. Find the total. Okay, this one is pretty straightforward. Just multiply it out. So just take 50 times 40 alongside with 70 times 15. So by combining these two, you should be able to get your answer as 3050. Okay, so this is the first part of the results. So moving on to the second question, we have the cost of running the club was 2,780. Calculate 2,780 as a percentage. So you're supposed to put 2780 over 3050 and then multiply it by 100. 2780 3050 times 100, making the answer 91.1%. Okay, so this is my answer for part 2. Moving on to part 3, 2023, there were 120 members. This was a decrease of 4% from numbers of members in 2020. So to address this drop of 4%, instead of having 100, it is now 96. So the original member amount is 2022 times 96%, you will get to 2023's number, which is 120. So when you make the necessary changes, you get 120 divided by 96%, making the results 125. Okay, so this is for part A1 number 3. Then we move on to part number 4, where we were given this question here. So 2024, the total number of members increased from 120. Okay, the numbers of child and the adults is the same. Interesting. So maybe it's related to the question from the front. So I have to look back. It was 50 and 70 at first. Okay, so they are basically telling me that it is 50 plus x, 70 plus x, and when they simplify the ratio, it will result in 14 and 19. Okay, if I didn't depict the question wrongly, this would be the ideal way of solving it. So I have 19, 50 plus x equals to 1470 plus x. So make some changes here. When I shift them together, x with x, you will get 5x equals to 30. This would be 6. Okay, so now that you know it was 6, total member will be 50 plus x plus 70 plus x, making the total 120 plus 6, 12, which is 132. So this is the answer that I get for this question. So the way of them phrasing the question is weird, but if you read it a couple of times, you should be able to get the idea here. So because they didn't give us an exact number on what are the increment, okay, so I just assumed that it was x, and x on both sides, forming the ratio here, and then compare it to the 14 to 19. This is how I get my answer as 132 for the total member. Calculate the percentage increases. So the new one was 132, the original was 120, divided by 120, making it 100. You will get a 10% increment. And for part B, the population of the village is 2005. This population is decreasing exponentially at a rate of 3%. Calculate the population at the end of 3 years. So the key catch here is exponentially, and it is decreasing. So when you write the formula, it's going to look like this: 2005, 100%. Okay, and since it was decreasing, it's going to minus, and then by 3. Calculate it up, you will get your results as 97% to the power of 3, making the population 2081.68, which is approximately 2281, or 2280 if you were to write it in 3 significant figures. So this is a reminder to you that I won't be rounding it up because 0.68 doesn't make it a full person. Okay, so I'm leaning towards setting the final results as 2281 or 2280 if I were to use 3 significant figures. So find the numbers of complete years it takes for the population to fall below 2000. So this time around, the key catch was that the percentage went missing. Not percentage, but the years went missing. So you have to write it like this: 97% to the power of a year equals to 2000 over 2005, making it 0.8. So for those who is not taking AdMaths, they would have done this manually by testing it the year one by one. But for those who uses or learn additional maths, we will just put it in, finding the years like this, having a log 97%. With the results of 0.8, you will get the year is about 7.32. Because they say it must be complete, I will be leaning towards 8 years. So let's get 8 years a check, and I will also calculate 7, okay, to show you what if you rounded the numbers down instead. So 2005 times 97% to the power of 8. The answer did turn out to be lesser than 2000. But if instead of 8, if you put it at 7, you get 2019, which defeat the whole purpose of this calculation, because they wanted the complete years fall it to first fall below 2000. So the correct answer for this will be 8 years. Okay, so I think that's it for question 1. Moving on to question 2, the n term of the sequence 120 minus n cubed, find the fourth term. So basically asking us to substitute 4 into the calculation. 120 minus 4 to the power of 3, making the results 56. And find the value of n when n terms value is 1, 2, 1, 1. So this is a reminder to us that now they want us to make n the subject. So because the n is negative currently, so I will shift it to the other side, making it like this first. Okay, and the 1, 2, 1, 1 will be shift to the front and it returns it to positive. So 1, 2, 1, 1 plus 1, 2, 0, making it a n cubed equals to 1, 3, 3, 1. Sub in a cube root 1, 3, 3, 1, you will get the results as 11. So that's it for question 2A2. The n terms of the difference sequence is 5. Okay, asking us for the fifth term. So 0 0.2, 5 minus 1, 0 0.2 to the power of 4. Okay, the answer turns out to be 0.0048, or if you wanted to, feel free to leave it as fraction, forming a 3/625 as your answer here. Okay, nothing else. Moving on to question C, which is the table form of sequence equation. Okay, this is actually my favorite, okay, because it's, to me, I find it quite easy to solve lah. Okay, so first one, apparently there is a clear trend there, which every time is going to decrease by 3, which means if I wanted to find my fifth term, I have to minus it by 3 again, forming a -5. And for the n term, okay, so this part here, you have to form the equation by having CD, which is common difference, plus minus 0th term. So your common difference here is -3 multiplied by n, and the 0th term means that we have to go the other way around, going to the front instead. So because of the change of direction, it will be plus 3, making the 0th term a 10, because 7 plus 3. So positive 10, and you will get your final answer as -3n plus 10. Okay, so this is my question C, part A's answer. Okay, moving on to part B, where we have a fraction here. 1, 4, 2, 5, 3, 6, 4, 7. And if you were to make an educated guess here, the next term should have been 5 and 8. Okay, because every time it's going to increase by 1, increase by 1, increase by 1. Same goes to the bottom, also plus 1, and plus 1. So to form the n-term equation, it's going to be a little bit tricky, where you just focus at the top part and the bottom part separately. So for the top one, you will get your CD times n plus minus 0th term. Again, the same formula from the one at the top. You will get 1n. When you go the other way around, it's going to be -1, making it a 0. So basically, there's nothing to write. It will just be n. Okay, however, for the denominator down here, again, it's a 1n, but when you minus it by 1, you get to 3. So to be exact, it's a positive 3, forming the equation of n plus 3. So this is for sequence A and B. And finally, moving on to part C, where we have 0, 2, 6, 12. So I want to compare and find, is there any clear trend on what's happening first? So 0, 2, 6, 12, you will find a difference of +2, +4, +6. Then when you backtrack again, you will get +2 and a +2. So because of the second row repeated, okay, a second row of difference repeated, means that we can choose to focus on these 3 separate values here. So you notice that I use different shape and all, okay, so that I can remind myself on what formula to use for each part of the calculation. So 2a equals to 2, 3a plus b equals to 2, and a plus b plus c equals to 0. So this is a reminder for you that the formula that we use is not given in the exam. You're supposed to memorize it prior. So if you're new to this, this is a geometric sequence where this formula here will help you to navigate and get the equation, or form the equation for you, basically. So with this ABC calculated, just fill in the blank to this formula here. You will get 1n squared minus 1n plus 0. So your final answer for this is basically n squared minus n. Okay, so n squared minus n is one of the answer, but personally, I would factorize it, making it n minus 1 as my final representation of the answer. Okay, because previously in the older past year, they always ask students to give your answers in simplest form. And if you calculated that it was a quadratic that can be further simplified, you're actually supposed to simplify it further. Okay, so the next term was missing. So if you were to follow the trend here, you're supposed to plus 8 to it, creating a 20. And if you wanted to test your formula whether it was correct or not, just try 5 squared minus 5. You actually get 20 here as well. Okay, so this is how you sort out the entire question. See over here. Moving on to question 3. Rahul rolls a die 60 times, and this the data is shown in the table below. So they want you for the mode. Mode means that which of the group here repeated the most or has the highest frequency. So if you look into it, you're supposed to figure that, oh, the one with the highest frequency is actually 5. Okay, so common answer that I always receive for this is 14. Okay, if you're one of those students who write frequency as your answer, okay, it's time to change that up. The correct answer should be 5 instead. Okay, so this whole group is the key model group, but the answers, if you were to write it, it should be 5. For median, you will need a cumulative frequency, having 10, having 16, having 27, having 40, 54, and making it 60. So CF stands for cumulative frequency, and median is basically finding the 30th term. So the 30th term will locate here because group number 4 here, or the score of 4, cover the answer from the 28th onwards all the way to 40th. So this is the reason why our median here is 4. Okay, so to calculate the last thing, which is the mean, mean also have another name called average. So we're supposed to take everything, multiply up with the frequency count, and divide it by 60. So you have 1 times 10, you have 2 times 6, you have 3 times 11, you have 4 times 13, you have 5 times 14, and lastly you have a 6 times 6. So compile everything and calculate it accordingly. Okay, you will get your answer as 3.55. Okay, 3.55 as your final answer. Okay, if you hated this arrangement here, okay, you can actually shift it accordingly, and then you get your final answer of 3.55. Okay, so next part, 3b number 1, estimate the mean. So based on the group given here, we are supposed to find the midpoint. Okay, because we have a class interval, which the midpoint is 25, 40, and this, which is 62.5. So take the midpoint times with the results that you have here, and again, add again, and divide it by the frequency of 100, you should be able to get your answer as 25 times 10, 40 times 72, 62.5 times 18, over 100, making the answer 42.55 kilometers per hour. Okay, so some students would round it to 42.6, but if you were to ask me, okay, I wouldn't do so because what we are calculating is mean. Okay, so for mean, this kind of sensitive values, I will always keep it as what I calculated. Okay, I won't purposely go and round it without any reason. Okay, so there's something to take note for question 3b. Moving on, we have a histogram for the group of 20 to 30 is 3. Okay, so we have to refer back to the table earlier. 20 to 30 is 3. So we have the frequency of 10. We have a class interval of 30 minus 20. And there's no way that this calculation to get us 10, which means and get us 3, which means there will be an existence of scale factor. So 10 divided by 10 is actually just 1. This is a reminder to us that moving forward for the other two class interval here, all of them will be multiplied by 3. Okay, so the group is 72 over 20. Okay, the next group is 72. This class interval here is 20, and you need to multiply it by 3, making the answer 10.8. And then the next group, the frequency is 18. 18 over the group here is 25. And when you multiply it by the scale factor of 3, you will get your answer as 2.16 centimeters. Okay, so this part 2 here is I wouldn't say it's a very good question, but if the students are not familiar with how frequency density is calculated, or they didn't pay attention to the height of the bar that was given there, they would have fall for this trap here, not identifying the scale factor of 3. Okay, so this is something to keep in mind. Please do not make this kind of mistake in your exam. So we're in question 4 now. Oh, not even halfway through the paper. Okay, we have 23 pages actually. So the last question is question 11. Okay, so coming back to question 4, let's see how fast or how much more time do we need to complete this set. So area of the triangle is equals to area of the square. Area of the square is relatively easy because it's just r plus 1 multiplied by r plus 1. So some students prefer to write it as r plus 1 square. Okay, but I prefer to split them up so that I won't make the mistake where I just square the things inside. Manually expansion is needed. You will get these results here. While the first part, you're supposed to use your half AB sine C, where you have r plus 2, r plus 5 with a sine of 30 degree. So to use this shortcut formula, instead of half times base times height, you need to have the angle, okay, and the adjacent sides information. So two connecting parts needs to be there for you to perform this calculation. So sine 30 degree is actually 1 over 2, creating a 1 over 4 down here. Okay, because 1 over 2 times 1 over 2. Okay, so for the remaining brackets there, as you expand, you will get to 7r and 10, and to remove any unnecessary information, which is the denominator of 4 here. Okay, I'm going to multiply it to the other side, making it 4r squared plus 8r plus 4. Okay, so what was happening behind the scene is there's a 4 with everything covered in it. Okay, so we adjust everything, making it 3r squared, making it r, and making it -6. This is how you prove what they want here. And to solve this, okay, I saw that there was this term 2 decimal place, and you have to show all your working. This is an indicator that you're supposed to do the quadratic formula. So R value is actually negative b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So sub in all the values, okay? So R is just 1 square minus 4 times 3 times negative 6, and then over 2 times 3. So just key in your calculator. Okay, personally, I will still use my calculator for the quadratic calculation. Okay, because I wanted to avoid using what I have there. Okay, just in case I make any kind of funny, silly mistake. Okay, just to double check, yes, everything is correct. Then only I round it to 2 decimal place, creating negative 1.59. And also the other answer is 1.26. Okay, these are the two answers that I get, and then I can proceed to the next part, calculation. So finding the perimeter of the square is r plus 1. How many r plus 1 do I actually have? It's actually 4 of them. So you have 4r plus 1. And if possible, they actually want you to make the justification of the two answers that you secured here. The only one that you can actually use is 1.29, because if you were to attempt to use the negative 1.59, when you substitute it into here, you come to a realization that you will get negative results, which is wrong. We never have negative answer for measurements. So for, okay, I will use or try to avoid any kind of premature roundings. Okay, so I'll be using this instead, exact form, and then only I key in everything on square root 73 minus 1 over 6, and then plus 1 in it. So you get 9.029, and if you were to round it, the answer should turn out to be 9.03. Okay, so this is when you find the exact answer. Okay, they didn't mention the term exact, so 9.03 will be the ideal answer for me. Okay, so ultimately, you can still feel free to refer back to the marking scheme and see what they advise from there. Okay, question 5. Okay, so this is quite good because they already sketched it out for us. So what was the question A1 asking is basically telling us to find the y value when x is 2. Find y value when x is 2. So let's trace it and see. X2 located here. When I trace it up, I only have one answer, which it points me towards 3. Okay, so this is basically 3 for my first answer here. Okay, the next one is asking us to find x when y equals to 5. So when I check the 5 and I draw a line here at 5, okay, so I'm going to trace it down and see what's the value. Wait, it shows me as -2. This one shows me at -0.4. And then the other one is over here, showing me the answer as 2.4, I think. Okay, so with this information, time to fill it in. You have -2, -0.4, and 2.4 as your final answer for A number 2. Okay, moving on to the next one. The equation fx equals to k has exactly 2 solutions. Write down value of k. So this is a reminder to us that they are talking about when we draw a line, we have exactly 2 intersections only, and the line will actually be horizontal line. So They didn't mention how much exactly. So I'm gonna use the turning point that we have here at 3, okay, because this is what they are looking for, having one intersection and two intersections. So this line here is actually when y equals to 3. Or in this case, they use the alphabet K to represent it. X equals to 0, this is our so-called asymptote, okay, not something new. They have been using this or testing it for quite some time already. So from the recent past year, it also came out quite frequently now, this day. Okay, so this right here, the green line is asymptote, which the true definition of it is no matter what happened, the line will continue to stretch but never touches the green line there. So that's the whole idea about asymptote. On the grid, draw it out, this thing, and find the x value when they intersect. Okay, so we have a x minus 2 to sketch out. So coming back to here, y equals to x minus 2. The table that I would like to form is your y-intercept and x-intercept. I get -2. If it's the other way around, I get 2. So we have 2 here at 0. We have -2 here. And when you join the line, oh no, this application don't have ruler. Oh, shoot. How am I going to join these 2 points then? I'm assuming something like this. Okay, let me drag and see if it connects the 2 dot. Not quite, but I think it get the job done. Okay, so this is the y equals to x minus 2 line. Okay, this red line is part of the answer. Okay, so when they ask us for find fx equals to x minus 2, basically the inline of intersection, we will get to the answer of 1. Okay, so use the graph to find cx equals to 2. Okay, so did they mention anything about the original equation? No, they didn't. Okay, and then what are they asking us to find? Exactly 2 solution. Use the graph to find x squared minus cx. Show that c equals to 2. Okay, so I'm gonna use one of the point that I can find here, which is -1 and 3. So when I put it in, I will get -1 square minus c over -1, creating a 1 plus c. So c is 2. Oh, just like that. Okay, so I can say shown that. Okay, so when I piece these two things together, this is for me to address the last question. Basically, they want us to use these two equations that we discovered and make the denominator the same and rearrange them accordingly. So this is what I created, and in the process of shifting away the x, I will get the answer of x squared minus 2x. So in this process, it created this, and our p and q value will actually be -1 and q is 2. Okay, -1 and 2 is my final answer for this question here. Moving on to question 6. Okay, the diagram shows the ladder GH on a horizontal ground, leanings on a vertical wall HF. Calculate the length of GH. So this will basically be a Pythagoras theorem with 1.5 square and 4 square calculated in. Okay, it then created a 73/2 which is approximately 4.2720. Or if you were to write it, you can show the answer as 4.72827. Okay, so this is for my question 6a. And then moving on to question 6b, calculate the bearing of V from W. So because of the term bearing, okay, it serves as a reminder that I'm supposed to draw an arrow at the top, okay, where when I were to shift it accordingly, okay, or draw out the bearings that we have to find, okay, I know that I have 180 degree and this theta degree that was missing, okay, to find the bearing. So looking at the triangle, this 50 is the opposite, this is the adjacent, so tangent theta equals to 50 over 120. So to find the theta value, tangent inverse it accordingly, answer should be how much? So tangent inverse 50 over 120, forming the answer as 22.6. So the entire bearing will be 180 plus 22.6, forming the results as 202.6. Okay, so some students will round it to 203 if you insist on making it a three significant figures. But I think since it's bearing, it's kind of sensitive, I would actually leave the answer as 202.6. Okay, so that's it. Moving on to question C, asking us the perimeter of this quadrilateral. Okay, so they mentioned that AD and DC is the same at 5. Okay, and then AB equals to BC, yes, and then they gave us ABD is 25 degree, and angle here is 15. BAD is 15. Oh, I forgot to write the 25. That's why it doesn't quite make sense here. So if that's the case, I'm gonna focus on one of the triangle. Okay, I think drawing out bigger will help. Okay, because I will only put in the information that I need. I need this 25 for sure. I need here as 5 as well. Other side's information will be this that was important because I can find that by having 180 minus 15 and 25. Okay, and I can find my AB's information. Okay, the so-called perimeter of this quadrilateral is formed by having x and 5 and 5. So 2x plus 10 is pretty much my final answer, but finding x becomes the important things here, which I have sine rule to help me with it. Okay, so making x the subject, we'll have sine 140 divided by sine 25. Okay, the answer from this will be 7.6048 blah 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 blah. So 2 times 7.6048 plus 10. Okay, I will actually use this 4 decimal here. Okay, and I only do the rounding at the very end, making the answer 25.2. Okay, so this right here is my answer for this question. Moving on to question D, asking us for the angle PQR. Okay. So we are forced to use the top part's triangle to find PR value first. Because for the triangle at the top, we have the angle and we have the side value. So cosine rule is the way to go here, having PR equals to cube root a square roots of 11 square plus 8 square minus 2, 11, 8, and cosine 110. Okay, so this is for PR's value. Okay, forming the answer as 15.6587. Okay, 4 decimal place first. Okay, to keep my answer as accurate as possible. So if you were to use and repeat the same thing, these answers that we have, okay, is actually equivalent to 10 square plus 14 square minus 2 10 14 cosine theta that we are looking for, and is actually equivalent to 1568, or exactly what we just calculated here, 15.6587. So they want you to make it as a subject, creating a 10 square plus 14 square minus 15 point. Okay, so lastly, to make cosine the subject, everything will be divided by here. Okay, so just key in cosine inverse with everything that I have there. Okay, you get your theta's final value as 79.5460, which is approximately 79.5 degrees. Okay, so not really super hard. It's just troublesome, I would say. That's the summary of this question. Moving on to question 7. Okay, we are halfway through, 10 more pages. Okay, then we are done with this paper. Okay, so a car travels at 50 with a speed of 75. Find the time. So time is basically distance over speed. Since it's not a upper bound, lower bound question, just fill in the blank accordingly. You should be able to find the answer as 50 over 75. This is actually a 2 over 3 hours, which can be converted into, I think, 40 minutes. Okay, the conversion process is multiplying this by 60. Okay, making it 40 minutes. So the other one asking us for the lower bound of the time taken. Oh, I jinxed it. So they did test us about upper bound and lower bound. So to get to lower bound when the relationship is division, my numerator needs to be smaller and my denominator needs to be higher. So distance here, the rounding values is, since they didn't mention exactly, so just 1. So the 47, to make it smaller, I need to minus. And for the speed, I need to make it higher. But since they gave us an exact value, the value will be divided by 2. So 75 plus 2.5. Okay, calculate it out. You should get your answer accordingly from there. Common mistake that students get is they will just saw the term lower bound and assume everything must be minus. There's no such thing. Minusing both wouldn't make the value any lesser. Okay, 0.6 hour multiplied by 60, you will get 36 minutes. So just to show you what I mean, if you were to attempt to minus both, okay, the answer will actually be bigger. So you get, did I do anything wrong? It's 2.5, what am I doing? Okay, so 47 minus 0.5 is 75 minus 2.5. So when you multiply accordingly, you actually get 38 minutes, which was higher. So please, 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 please do not make this kind of mistake. Okay, upper bound and lower bound is one of the core chapters that you need to score, okay, to help boost up your grades. Okay, moving on to question 7b. We have a question here that looks pretty weird. Asking us for average speed and they gave us the distance. So final answer or the final calculation should be 240 for sure. But we have time part 1 and time part 2 of the journey. So for part 1, the time needed is by having distance over speed. Hey, we don't have distance though. So I need to find D1 first. D1 will be speed times time. So 100 times T. Okay, but the T is in minute form, so it needs to be divided by 60. And the D2, however, is 110 times T plus 60. And again, will be divided by 60. Okay, so these are the first thing that I created here. And then you may move on to add them up because the final answer of this should result as 240. Okay, so 100T plus 110T plus 6600 over 60 equals to 240. So the 240 multiplied with 60, you get the results as 14400. 210T plus 6600. You get 7800 as 210T. 7800 divided by 210, you will get your answer as 260 over 7. Okay, so this is not the final answer. As I mentioned, I need to find the exact timing of each of the journey. The first one, you can just use 260 over 7. But the other one, oh, there's also one more thing. Because the 260 over 7, right? It needs to be divided by 62 to convert it into hour form. So same goes to the T plus 60. You have 260 over 7 plus 60 over 60. So key in this entire thing to your calculator. You will get 260 over 7 and then plus 260 over 7 plus 60 over 60. So the final answer is 107.23. Okay, so this is the average speed of this particular question. Moving on to question 8. How many more pages to go? 1, 2, 3. Oh, there's still a lot. Still got 7 pages more. So I think it needs another 30 minutes or so. Okay, please bear with me. All right, question 8a. Total surface area of this solid. Okay, yep. Has a height of 1.5, radius of 0.35. Surface area of this solid. So there's a few things that I will be calculating. First one is the bottom, okay, which is this cover here. For that, it will just be your generic pi r square. And then because they asked us for the surface area, we have a lot of 2 pi r here. And it will be multiplied by the height alongside with the curved surface area of the cone. Okay, that one will be pi RL. But the problem now is we have the R as 1.5 square pi. This one is fine. 2 pi times 1.5 and the H is 16. And the only key catch here that I think we must get it done will be pi at 1.5 and the L, which is the slanted part. So they want you to cut out half of it, knowing that the radius is 0.35. Oh, I used the wrong thing apparently. Luckily, we double checked. It's 0.35 pi a square. So here's also 0.35, and 0.35 is here, 1.5 is here. Using a Pythagoras theorem, you will get this as 949 over 20. Okay, 949. So let's key in everything properly. 0.35 square, okay, times pi, times 2 pi times 0.35 times 16 pi times 0.35 times square root 949 over 20. You will get your answer as 37.26, which is approximately 37.3 lah. Okay, so moving on to part 2, it will be pi r squared times h. This is for the cone at the bottom, and then we need to add with the cone at the top, which is 1 over 3 pi r squared h. So fill in the blank. 0.35 square, 16, and then 1 over 3 pi 0.35 with a height of 1.5. So let's key in again everything, see if it's correct this time. Zero 0.35 squared times 16, 1 over 3 times 0.35 times 1.5. Oh, there's a square that went missing. So I'm supposed to write a square there, and it's going to affect the calculation slightly. It's actually 6.3499 blah 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 blah. 3.65 is my 6.35 is my final answer for 8A number 2. Moving on to part 3, 10 solids. Okay, volume of the empty space in the box. Okay. First thing first, we need to know the box total area. Total area is 3.5 times 1.4 times the length of the pencil, which is a total of 17.5. And then we minus it by how many pencil that we have. The pencil that we have 10 of them actually, with the answer of what we have up here, which is 6.3499 blah 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 blah. So I'm going to use these answers that I have here and multiply it by 10. At the same time, I will be using 3.5 times 1.4 times 17.5 minus it. You will get the empty space value as 22.3. Okay, just in case you don't know how I get the 17.5, it's actually the total length of the pencil here of 16 plus 1.5. Okay, so moving on to question part B. This is mathematically similar. Okay, so again, pay attention to the unit that they use. I'll be using the comparison method here, where I have a larger solid of 200 and the smaller solid of 98. Larger solid's volume is 450, and the smaller volume, I set it as X. So you're basically on a mission to make X the subject. So this is what you get after you perform the rearrangement. Okay, to find X, basically everything must be cubed. Okay, cube it up and you get your answer here. Okay, the answer is 154.35. Okay, and yeah, that's the answer that I get. Okay, so if you were to round it to three significant figures, it would be 154. This is for students who use the comparison method. Okay, to address everyone's need, I will also show you the scale factor method. 98 times SF squared equals to 200. So 200 divided by 98 equals to this. And if you were to square root it, it will be 10 over 7. So from here, taking the volume of the smaller one, which is x times SF cubed equals to 450. So the catch here that you notice is that for comparison method, we will be using square roots and cube roots. For scale factor method, we actually are squaring the scale factor or cubing the scale factor. So 450 divided by 10 over 7 cubed, you should be able to get your answer. As 154.35. So it's actually the same answer. Okay, you have to decide which one suit you best, but I personally think that there's no need for you to use scale factor unless the question was designed or force you doing it. Okay, I will never, in general, I don't recommend using scale factor method. Yes. Next question, probability. Finding the alphabet H, this will be immediately a 0 because there's no H in it. Getting a 5, that will be out of 7 cards, so 1 over 7. So this is the first two answer. They are being nice here, giving you some free score. Moving on to B, Fumika picks 7 cards random, replaces it, which means that you picking I and then picking I again will be 4 over 49. Okay, so because of them drawing the same number, there's no need to make the arrangement thingy. So 2 over 7 times 2 over 7 is the way to go. But without replacement this time, show one letter is I, one letter is N. So there's two different scenarios now. Because they didn't tell us the exact order, I need to have I first then N. Scenario 2 will be N first then I. Okay, these two will be added together. So 2 over 7, what's the probability of getting N? N is 1. 1 over 6. Or you get 1 over 7 first, which is drawing an N, and then 2 over 6. So you notice one thing that was changing will be the denominator. Okay, so because you didn't replace it back, hence the decrease in it. Okay, double it down, you will get 2 over 21. So students will also ask at the same time, like, why should you actually double it? Because you will now notice that denominator is 7 and 7, 6 and 6. Numerator is 2 and 1, 1 and 2. They're basically the same. So the same thing repeated twice for you to get to your answers here. Part 2 is testing you on your proficiency in probability chapter. You just have to take 1 and minus those who can potentially repeat. So this will be I and I and A and A. Because they are the same, there's no need to change anything. Okay, or do any rearrangement swap. Okay, there's no special scenario for this. Just take 1 and minus it accordingly. Okay, you will get 19 over 21 as your final answer here. Moving on to the next part, without replacement and stop. Okay, so 7 card without replacement, they stop when they get A. How much was A? A was 2 of them. So you will get not a to the power of n first, and then finally getting a, and the probability is 4/21. For the a's probability, I know that it was 2, okay, without replacement. Okay, so when it comes to forming the equation, it will be without replacement until she picks a card that shows a. All right. So 7 cards without replacement. Not a, there's 5/7 of them. And then you will get 4/21. Continue until she picks a card that gets 2. 7 minus n? Doesn't make sense though. So I can't quite form the equation like this. So I have to try the manual way. Really? Okay, so if you were to do this the manual way, the equation that you'll be getting will be 5/7 and then 4/6. These are non-A first. And then when I get A is A is 2/5 perhaps. Let's see if it results in it. 7 times 4/6 times 2/5. Oh, so yeah, this is the answer indeed, which means this is the third card, no? Third draw. Then you will get the answer already. Okay, surprisingly easy. It wasn't the hard version like what we previously did in other papers. Okay, so yeah, they're being generous here. Question 10, finding the derivative. Okay, basically dy dx is 7x6, 42x5 will be my answer here. And then they ask us to find the tangent of the equation. So tangent means y equals to fa f prime a x minus a. So this is a shortcut formula that I used in AdMath's question. So you can also do that here. Okay, so when x equals -1, f -1 means -1 to the power of 7 minus 7, -1, 6. So -1 minus 7, you will get -8. Okay, so your f prime -1 will be 7, -1, 6 minus 42, -1, 5. You get 7 plus 42, which is 49. So when you rearrange them accordingly, you will get 49x plus 41 as your final answer here. Okay, so again, you don't have to use the formula that I did, but I find it easier because a is basically whatever value that they gave us here. Fa is basically you use the x value that they gave and sub it back to the original equation, creating the -8 in the process. And then lastly, you have your f prime, which is when you sub in the -1 into the differentiated or derivative that you secured earlier. That's how you get to the 49. Okay, so that's it for question A and B. Question C, we have turning point here where we have our dy dx equals to 0. So 7x6 minus 42x5 equals to 0. You can take out 7x5. You will get x minus 6 equals to 0. 7x5 equals to 0. X is 0. X minus 6 equals to 0. X is 6. So 0 and 6 here. Substitute it back. You'll get point of origin for one of them. So complete the calculation here. You will get negative 46656 as your second answer. Okay, so this is how you secure the full 5 marks here. Is this the last question? Yes, it is the last question. Come on, yes. So the answer to show that it's 108. Minor arc is 3/7 of the length of the major arc. So you are saying that your x over 360 times r times 2 pi r equals to 3/7 of 2 pi r. Okay, so 2 pi r and 2 pi r will be gone. 3x over 360 equals to 3/7. X will basically be 3/7 times 360. Oh, I missed out on one thing though. I forget to use my major arcs information. Major arc is actually 360 minus x over 360, 2 pi r. So 2 pi r was indeed gone, but the 360 and 360 minus x is still there. Okay, so in this process, because 360 repeated, they will be gone as well, making it x on one side. You have 360 minus x over 7. So I will actually bring the 7 here. 360 times 3. 1080 minus 3x. 10x equals to 1080. X will be 108. Okay, so this is how you prove your 11A. Moving on to part B, they then test us about another concept. Okay, obtuse triangle ABC is half the area of the sector. So if I were to take half AB sine Y, it will be half of the area of the sector. Area of the sector is y over 360 times pi r squared. Okay. And then as we continue, 1/2 and 1/2 will be gone. R squared and R squared will be gone. This is all I have left. And then when I shift away the 360 to the front, yeah, we managed to prove everything. Okay, so just so you know, everything that repeated will cancel off. Okay, that's why I cross off the 1/2. I cross off the r squared there. Okay, next thing, give your answer corrected to 2 decimal place. So they want us to key in manually 360 sine 108.7. If it's 2 decimal place, you will get 341.00. Okay, so just for the sake of checking, okay, you will get 341.20 for the previous one. Yes, correct. But as we proceed to 108.7, okay, because 340.9956, it will be rounded to 341 lah. Okay, pi y, so pi y is actually 108.6. Okay, this results will show us 341.18, and when we go into 147, you will get 341.49. Okay, so the value of y corrected to one decimal place that satisfy the equation pi y is, okay, so part 3, what are they actually asking? So the value of y corrected to one decimal place that satisfy, or they will be exactly the same, will actually be this and this, because they both will be rounded to 341.2. So the answer for y is actually 108.6 lah. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So for this paper, question that I think would be slightly challenging is the entire question 11. Other than question 11, questions that students might potentially struggle will be question 8, and also that's actually pretty much it. For question 1, number 4, some students might get stuck over there. And these are the few questions that I think the examiner set up, okay, to reduce the number of students to get world prize. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this paper. It wasn't that hard overall. It's still solvable provided your concept or you did enough practice on your past year. So if you have friends that are struggling with this paper, feel free to share this to them. And one last shameless plug here. If you're interested to join our group class tutoring and private tutoring, feel free to check out the Google link attached in the description box. So if you have any issue, you can reach out to me directly from there. There's my WhatsApp link as well. So that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.